episode, I don't even know what, of 15 Minutes With, but it's good to be back after a break of about a week or so with William Smith. And you go by William. Some people call you Will. What do you go by usually?
Mostly Will. I mean, a few people call me William. My mom does. So.
But that's what you use on the radio, right? William Smith.
Yeah, now that you say that, I didn't even think about it. So.
I probably hear it more than you do. So
I have to be careful about the Will Smith thing because people think I'm putting them on if they're like, that's not your name.
Well, even though there is that one really infamous Will Smith, it's a pretty common name. I got a feeling William Smith is a common name, right?
Yeah, I know. But in 5th grade, when the Fresh Prince really started taking off, that's everybody started calling me Fresh Prince and Will Smith, and so.
Did you watch the show?
I did. Yeah, I like Fresh Prince.
He's with the Burlington Beacon, and you might have heard his news on the new Mix or 101.7 The Bull. And you're on the radio now, but journalism in college, Will?
Oh, yeah.
What did you go for? Out of high school, what were you like, this is what I want to do in the world? Did you know?
I knew I wanted to write. Beyond that, I didn't know much. So I started journalism in high school in our mass media class. That was pretty much, we would write a Danville Blueprints news page for the Des Moines County News. I believe they still do that with a few schools, like student newspaper, only just a single page.
Yeah.
Went to SCC after that to get my AA, and then went up to the University of Iowa and got my journalism degree.
How long did you go to University of Iowa?
Oh, let's see. Yeah, just a little bit over. I think it's actually 2.5 because I did a summer. So
yeah. And so when did you start writing? Did a teacher tell you had a knack at school? Who spurred it on?
Well, I'll have to give some props out to my 5th grade teacher, Barbara Bird. She's really encouraged me to write. Also, my 5th grade teacher, Steve Ida, who later became principal of Danville. So that's when they really started focusing on creative writing, at least in Danville, when I was a student. And that's when I found out that I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, they were both very encouraging.
Kind of had a thing for it.
Oh, yeah.
Right. How about personally? If we rummage through notes and journals, would we find? Do you do a lot of writing on your own besides news?
No, I used to before I started working in writing. Short stories, that kind of thing. I've tried the fiction thing a few times, but I just don't have the talent for it. I'm impressed with anybody that can write fiction because I ended up coming up with so many plot holes and loopholes. I was like, nah.
Well, don't say you don't have the talent for it because you obviously got a better.
Maybe
start.
I don't have the inclination.
Yeah, you got a better start than most of us. So, Will, do you come from a family of journalists?
Actually, no. I'm an only child. Both my mom and dad worked a variety of jobs, mostly factory jobs. We moved up here when I was 10 years old to Iowa from Tennessee because both my parents started working at the Iowa Army ammunition plant. So, in fact, I think I might be the first in my family to go to college. I'm not sure about that, though.
The Burlington Beacon. You came there from the Hawkeye.
The Hawkeye got bought out by Gatehouse Media, which it was called at the time, and then they started doing cuts. Now, my boss, Jeff Abel, who started the Beacon, we started it together, but it's his baby. It was his idea.
Strictly to be online only.
No, he always envisioned a print paper. We weren't sure if we'd be able to do it or not for the first year or two. So we took the first, I guess about 2 years, building ourselves up on Facebook, getting a lot of followers. When we got up to around, 7,000 or 8,000 followers, I think's about when we started the print. Jeff would know that better than I would. But, a lot of people told him he was crazy. I wasn't sure if he was or not, but I was going to try it anyway. So
the Burlington Beacon, it still prints a paper?
Oh, yeah. We're weekly, every Friday. So we've been in print for, I don't want to get this wrong, I want to say around 2.5 years.
Yeah, and then online, we can find you where?
Oh, online, mostly Facebook. That's something we started. I think we just went past our 5-year anniversary with that.
So you post stories. Burlington Beacon has a Facebook page.
Yeah, and
it acts as kind of a news page.
Yeah, especially before we started the print. And it still does. Obviously, being a weekly newspaper, you need another outlet to get the daily stuff in, and that's what that acted as. And now with the radio partnership, that's been even better because we can get it out every morning. So
yeah. Well, had you done? Why did you decide to do the radio side of it? Were you asked?
I was asked. It was something Jeff and I had talked about a couple years before it happened. We wanted to wait to spread the word because a lot of people still haven't heard about us, and we figured radio would be a good tool. It took about a year or two for that to happen, but then we met with Titan, and they wanted someone to do the newscasts. My wife did it for a little while, and then I took over from her. I've been doing it a little bit over a year now, I think. So I've been doing it pretty much every day since then. So
people aren't buying newspapers anymore. I mean, some people do, but it's not like the old days, right?
Well, yeah, that's why people told us we were crazy. And to be sure, I don't know if a weekly would have worked in a lot of towns. A lot of it's the market, and Jeff's always had a good handle on that market. He's always said this is an old newspaper town. Yeah. And we found it is. I mean, at least people were very generous to us. We had a couple hundred subscribers before we even put out a paper, the people that pre-ordered, and which was great. That was putting a lot of trust in us because we had nothing to give them other than a promise. So
yeah. I wasn't really given a choice. I never wanted a newspaper to go away. Because I love thumbing through a newspaper. I love when I stay at a hotel. A lot of times the only newspaper these days is the city newspaper or USA Today. There's nothing like going through one, Will. I don't know if you grew up with a newspaper or not.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the nice thing about a newspaper is, of course, there's plenty of ads, but since it's in front of you, you don't have to scroll past anything. You don't have to look at the ads if you don't want, or maybe you just want to look at the ads. I don't know.
Yeah. So I would guess, like you said, this is an old newspaper town, that although subscription rates aren't through the roof, that there still are quite a few people who get the paper. What are those numbers?
Oh, sure. So we are at about a little under 2,000 for subscriptions, and we estimate around 2,300 for circulation. That's taking into account the newsstands. We have several of those, over a dozen, I know. Our biggest ones are usually at the grocery stores.
Yeah. What's it like being a newsman in this day and age? What was it like being a newsman during COVID? I know the answer to that.
Well, that was interesting because, all right, so we hadn't started the print paper yet, so that actually made things a lot easier.
Sure.
So a lot of it was sitting in my house and calling places, and like, when are you guys closing? It was kind of a guessing game there for a couple of weeks. It's like, well, what's this restaurant going to do, and when are they going to close? And so that part was kind of hectic. And then, of course, there was the daily reporting of the COVID numbers, the percentage numbers. So, but hectic from my home pretty much because none of us were going anywhere there for a while.
Yeah. So that wasn't necessarily a tough time for you in news. Did you get backlash? Did you get comments from readers?
Not direct backlash, but I mean, COVID was a crazy time, especially when it came to masking. People,
right, and
everybody had opinions.
Yeah, you're putting news out, so
yeah.
They think you're the ones that need to get the backlash. I didn't know,
and that's really what we tried to stress, and what any newspaper does is that we're not on anyone's side. I mean, we're just here to report the news and get both sides. So.
Do you feel like you have to have a thicker skin being a writer, being a news guy?
I'd imagine so, but in a smaller community like this, not as much. People are more kind than they are mean. Now, if I worked in New York City, I don't know. I'm probably not tough enough for that. So.
Yeah. What was it like? You said had your wife ever done any radio when she started doing this?
No, neither of us had. So, it was fun. It was interesting. I didn't know how to go about it myself at first. My tone was way up here, which I thought is what you needed. And then they explained to me that it needs to be a little bit more down here, which was fine because it was taking a lot longer to project, and like my eyes were bugging out when I was reading the news. So it's nice to read it in a more normal voice.
Yeah. Well, you've been writing it forever, so yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's cool to hear myself on the radio. It's like when I was a kid, I kind of wanted to be a DJ, but I wanted to do a lot of things. So.
Yeah. Well, you kind of got the best of both worlds now. You're doing news, and is news... where are you kind of in a groove of where you want to be or where you thought you'd be in your career?
I am. I'm definitely not where I thought I would be because Well, honestly, when it comes to newspapers, things were so volatile. I didn't know where I would be. So,
yeah.
But the idea of a startup newspaper and taking the reins on that, and no, that's something I never imagined. That's Jeff Abel, our owner. He's the big thinker. He's always has those kind of ideas, and I'm just happy to go along. So.
You said for online, if people want to find the Burlington Beacon, it's the Burlington Beacon's Facebook.
Yeah.
There's not a dedicated...
we do have a dedicated website.
Yeah.
Now, that has more of our feature stories, things like that. You won't find the most breaking news on there because our traffic on the website just isn't nearly as great as it is on Facebook. So if there's a shooting, something like that, that's something we'll always put on Facebook right away. So.
Yeah. But if I wanted to subscribe to the newspaper to become one of those,
yeah, and that's a case where you can go to the website. We have submission forms. You can come into the office at 1604 Mount Pleasant Street. We're right across from the Lincolnville. Used to be a car wash, I understand. So yeah, any of the, or you can call us. So. Don't ask me the number though, because I can't remember it right now.
The Burlington Beacon newspaper, where can I get it on? You said it's once a week?
Yeah, once a week.
On Fridays?
Yeah, we're on several newsstands. We're at Fairway. We're at Hy-Vee. We started doing insert advertising here a few months ago. We just started with Hy-Vee inserts. We have Menards. We have Concha Audio. So, but yeah, you can go to Fairway, Hy-Vee, and then I'm forgetting a whole bunch of gas stations.
That's all okay. Around. That's all right. And you're a small crew. What is the staff of the Burlington Beacon?
Extremely small. Now I have to count in my head, but so yeah, myself as community editor and main writer. We have Jeff Abel, who's the managing editor. His wife, Stacy Abel, who really kind of does everything, especially when it comes to advertising. She's kind of the gel that holds the place together.
Yeah.
We have some great office staff. We have Rita and Karen work in the front office. And then we have a night crew that does the folding of the papers, and that's about a dozen people. Because people don't realize the paper comes out on Friday, but our deadline is Tuesday night, because Wednesday we spent all day proofreading the pages as Jeff puts the paper together, because he's our sole designer. And then we once we're done with all of that, the next day, we used to do it Wednesday nights, we have a crew that folds and labels the 2,000 papers, and that takes a few hours, and then I take them to the post office on Thursday, and then they come out on Friday through your mail. So we started out with hand delivery when we were small enough. That about killed us, even though it was interesting, but we were happy to get the mail.
So now the Burlington Beacon comes through regular mail?
Yeah, it can go anywhere. Yeah, if you used to live in Burlington and you live in Alaska, that's not a problem. So it'll cost a little bit more, but not too much.
How much of a news geek are you?
You know, it's funny. When I started out at newspapers, I wasn't much of a news geek at all, I have to admit.
Yeah.
And over the last 15 years or so, especially the last 5 years, politics have gotten so much more interesting.
They have indeed.
But yeah, just the nature of my job. I'm always reading news every day. Now, Jeff's a far bigger news geek than I am. He covered cops and courts at the Hawkeye. He's gotten into the nitty gritty. So.
How do you? Because a lot of people will scroll through the day, and that can change your attitude when you read a lot of bad news.
Oh, sure.
How does a news guy deal with all that? Taking in all that, 'cause the negative along with the good along with the bad. Right?
Oh yeah, and it can definitely affect you. I found it depends a lot on your state of mind. I went through kind of a hard mental health period towards the end of the Hawkeye. We were all having a hard time. I mean, a lot of people getting let go. It was kind of traumatic for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's when I found news was starting to depress me, and I would read more of it, and I would get more depressed. And then once I got out of that state of mind, I sought help, and then, if I'm feeling good, I can read the worst story in the world and be like, "Oh, that's too bad,"
Yeah, and ingest it and deal with it in a better way than maybe.
In a more distant way, like it's not happening to me.
Yeah, yeah, and you don't got to take on the world's problems.
No, I'd rather not.
You don't have to do that, Will, at all. We got a pretty interesting time. Let's not even mince words. We know that here come election time.
Yes,
it's gonna get crazy with politics and news stories. And are you anticipating this fall to be any different than any other fall because of the ramp up?
On a national level, obviously, it's going to be huge.
Sure.
Local level, I was just talking to somebody about how we're disappointed that there aren't more candidates when the primary's coming up next week, and most of the offices, aren't contested, at least for the primary. The one Republican or one Democrat, a lot of those offices will be contested for the general election, but usually just be 2 candidates. So not quite as crazy as you think. So we would like it to be even crazier. So you'll see more people get involved. So
you like it when it's busy?
Yeah. Well, maybe not 24/7 busy, but yes.
Yep. This is Will Smith, and Will does news. You've heard his voice. Of course, on 101.7 The Bull and the new Mix. He's a writer at heart, a journalist, and works for the Burlington Beacon with, it sounds like, a pretty good staff of folks.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's awesome. We've all had former jobs elsewhere that a lot of us weren't happy with, and we've all kind of found a second home. So I've never been closer to a crew of people I've worked with than this crew, so...
Well, thanks for being with us, Will. We appreciate it. And if you'd still enjoy the feeling or miss the feeling of getting ink on your hands while you're reading the news, Will, we can go over to the website and be a subscriber. How do we get to the Burlington Beacon website?
Oh, I should have this right. I believe it's just www.burlingtonbeacon.com. If that doesn't work for you, go to our Facebook page, Burlington Beacon.
There's probably a link there.
Yes.
Yes. Excellent. Thanks for the fine work you and your crew do over there. We appreciate it very much.
Oh, thanks for interviewing me.
Yeah.
I've never been interviewed, and it's definitely a cool experience. I'm always on your side.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that, but it doesn't seem... You seem pretty relaxed for the first time being interviewed. Right? So I appreciate it very much. Thanks for being here.